fillet a flat fish. Now this is a lemon sole, and look how beautifully fresh it is. First of all, before I fillet it, I just want to cut the fins off, show you how to cut fins off. Don't use a knife, you never get through them with a knife, but with a pair of kitchen scissors, dead easy, just cut all the way around as tight as you can to the body. Do the other side in exactly the same way. And while I'm talking about this, let me just say that this is how you trim a fish like a lemon sole for grilling. You deal with all flat fish in a similar way: turbot, brill, flounder, plaice, all much the same way. That's how you cut a fish for just simply grilling, nothing more than that. If you're wondering what to do with a fish of this size, when you buy it in the fishmongers, just bring it home, brush it with a little bit of butter, salt and pepper, under the grill, slice of lemon, absolute heaven. There you go. So now to fillet it. First of all, if you look down the middle of the back, there's almost a line. The fish is almost sort of telling you where to cut first of all. So you just get your filleting knife. That's a filleting knife. Nice flexible blade, pretty sharp. If you're going to do any work like this, you do need a filleting knife. You can't do it nearly so easily with anything else. Just cut down there, right down to the centre of the backbone. Okay, then just turn the fish over. Now, it's just very easy to do this. I wouldn't be showing you if I didn't think everybody could do it. But what you do need is good fresh fish, because it's nice and firm, and the blade of the knife just sort of glides through it with no problem at all. Just take the knife over like that, come out through, simple as that. When you're up to the top of the fish, make sure this side that you cut right round the head, because a lot of people just leave that bit of fillet on the fish, and it's such a waste, particularly when you get into a big fish like a turbot. With all fish, it's just a little bit harder filleting the bottom two fillets from the top, or the bottom fillet with a round fish, because you haven't got the top fillet acting as a sort of cushion. But nevertheless, it's still easy enough. Okay, now wouldn't you want to do something with that? Wouldn't you want to fry those or something, eh? Goujons are small pieces of fish, normally flat fish, cut into pieces about the size of your little finger. Actually, goujons mean gudgeons, you know, the little freshwater river fish. They're little cuts made to look like gudgeons. And they're dipped in seasoned flour and dipped in egg, and lastly in breadcrumbs. And I've got some really nice breadcrumbs which actually come from Japan, and they're called panko, and they fry very, very crisp. But ordinary breadcrumbs are just fine for goujons. And then deep fry them in good, clean oil. I love deep frying fish, particularly lemon sole in little goujons. When they come out crisp, they taste wonderful. And what I also like is deep fried fish with some mayonnaise-based sauce. In this case, a homemade tartar sauce. You start with a well-flavoured mustard mayonnaise, and then you just add some chopped green olives, gherkins, capers, chives and parsley. And that transforms the mayonnaise into a perfect accompaniment. I'm really pleased to be able to show you how to deal with raw fish. In this case, it's a round fish, a little bit harder than filleting a flat fish. And this one has got a lot of scales, the sea bass. It's a beautiful example there of a sea bass, lovely and fresh. First of all, with a sea bass, always a good idea just to take those fins off. Look at the spikes on that, eh? Don't want to be messing around taking scales off a bass with spikes like that. You find them sticking into your fingers, into your thumbs, all over the place. So just cut all those scales off first before you start doing anything else. Good pair of kitchen scissors, essential in all fish cookery. See, off they snip. So I'm going to fillet this fish, but before that I just want to show you how to get it ready for grilling whole as well. But without further ado, let's just get on and take some of these scales off. Now this is a really good scaler here. Somebody's just said it looks a bit like a sort of toothbrush. You know? Really get to grips with your teeth with that. And you work away from the tail taking scales off. The scales run that way, so you run against the grain, as it were. I always use newspaper to scale fish at home. At work we have a sort of wonderful fish sink to work in with running water all the time. It's a very good idea when you are actually scaling fish to do them quickly when you get them. Now at the same time as doing the scales, I'm also going to take the guts out. What we do there is we just start at the anal fin and just work through to the head. I'll see if I can do it so you can see it easily enough. Just go through with the knife. like that. Then just reach in and pull out all those grisly guts. So just wash that, get rid of the last of the scales and all that nastiness inside. So that would be ready to grill whole. You can stuff it then, the guts are all gone and it's all clean in there. But let me just show you how to fillet a fish. Just cut along the backbone of the fish with a knife, and as I said, it's a little bit harder than doing a flat fish, but not that much harder. Just cut through like that and just ease the knife against the backbone. Again, I'm using this sort of springy filleting knife, using the backbone as a sort of guide. You see? Then what I always do is just turn the knife around and run it against the backbone to take the fish away at the tail, like that, and then just cut through the ribs, and then just cut round the head, and you're just about there. So just turn the fish over and do the same on the other side. And as I said with the flat fish, it's a little harder on the other side because you haven't got the sort of cushion of fillet to help you when you're doing it this side, and you always find that you leave a bit more of the flesh against the bone, but don't worry about it, it's still going to be all right, you still have a nice portion. Now there's two nice fillets. And as I said, I always like to cut through the rib bones, because if you try and sort of cut away and leave the rib bones on, you lose a lot of valuable fillet. A lot of chefs, which erroneously I think, cut the gut cavity completely away from the fish. In other words, cut that away. But there's some good eating in that gut cavity, and I like to keep it. So that's how I like my fillet of fish to be, ready for grilling, frying, deep frying, whatever. Now these are 3 fish dishes using fillets. First of all, grilled red mullet with an aubergine and pesto salad, and I'll be showing you how to make this later on. Next, a gratin of seafood. You have fillets of fish and other seafood like prawns, mussels, scallops, and you mix them with a nice cheese and cream sauce and cover them with breadcrumbs and just put them under a grill or in an oven so they come out all brown and popping with flavour. And finally, hake and potato pie with a garlic, parsley and breadcrumb crust. Just hake with some soft potato and garlic and parsley, all cooked together with a bit of butter. And now for a salmon dish which doesn't need any cooking. It's marinated salmon with dill, or it's normally called gravlax in supermarkets and shops. What you want to do is get your fishmonger to give you a large piece of salmon and get him to scale it, wash it, and then take all the bones out of it. And you want a whole piece like this. The salmon halves are dry cured in a mixture of sea salt, sugar, lots of fresh dill, and I mean lots, and crushed white peppercorns. Pop the other one on top, and this is flesh side up and flesh side down. Wrap it up in the foil, and then weigh it down with some weights, and you can use bags of flour or anything like that, in a fridge, well, for about 2 days. And during that time, you need to open up the package, and you'll find lots of sort of brine that's come out of the fish, and you need to spoon that over the top just to sort of get it all flowing back over the top again. Now when you come to serve the fish, you slice it thinly, just like smoked salmon. And I think it looks nicest if you just leave the dill coating on when you serve it. And I like to serve it just garnished with a sharp and creamy horseradish and mustard sauce, and just a sprig of fresh dill. Now here's another classic salmon dish, and I'm really pleased to be able to do this one for you. This is poached whole salmon in a court bouillon. Now court bouillon is just a flavoured poaching liquid, and in this beautiful salmon kettle I've got carrot, I've got onion, I've got slices of lemon, peppercorns, bay leaf, white wine vinegar and salt. And I'm going to put this salmon on this sort of trivet, I think it's the right word, and drop it into that court bouillon. So I'm just going to bring that back up to the boil and boil it for 5 minutes, simmer it in fact for 5 minutes, and 5 minutes only, because if you leave it any longer it'll overcook and get all dry and boring, like the sort of thing you get at most wedding receptions, except yours, I promise. Okay, now let's just put that over there and make some mayonnaise, which is really one of the other jobs, like filleting, that I really enjoy in the kitchen. In there I've got some white wine vinegar, some salt and some egg yolks. Now there's nothing really difficult about making mayonnaise. I know people get very sort of nervous about it because it's one of those sauces like hollandaise which can curdle. But the secret of making good mayonnaise is first of all just to whip the egg yolks and white wine vinegar and salt together very thoroughly, and then just add the olive oil gently at first, just in a few drips at a time. Now this is virgin olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, which is very strong, and you may find that you don't like that very sort of pungent flavour of mayonnaise. I think it goes very well with salmon, because I just have this theory that a sauce should be a little bit over strong, because after all you always eat, you know, a big bite of fish with a small amount of sauce, and it just gets dissipated. And if you don't make your sauce nice and saucy, it won't sort of taste of much. So you just add a little oil at a time, just building up an emulsion. By the way, I do have to say this, that if you're sort of worried about raw egg, which mayonnaise is made with, do use pasteurised egg, which you can get quite easily now. So that mayonnaise is just about ready. It's all nice and thick and sort of almost holding its own shape. It's perfect. And the salmon's been cooking for about 5 minutes. So we just take the lid off, take it off the heat, and leave it to cool in its own juices for about 20 minutes. Then we just serve it up with some new potatoes, thinly sliced cucumber with a little white wine vinegar and some chopped mint. Grilling's one of my favourite ways of cooking fish. It's just so easy and simple. But one of the best fish for grilling is red mullet. It's one of those up-to-the-minute dishes, all healthy and Mediterranean. It's just dead easy to make. The red mullet fillets are grilled and then served on char-grilled aubergine slices which have been spread with a coarse pesto. Then a smoother pesto is drizzled over the finished dish. Grilled red mullet with an aubergine and pesto salad. Well, I couldn't really finish without a Cornish pasty now, could I? And this is made with smoked haddock. And into the bowl I'm just going to do the mixture. First of all I'll put some sliced leeks and then some potatoes cut up into a dice, and then the haddock. And this is undyed smoked haddock. I always prefer the one without all that sort of lurid yellow dye in there. And this is actually local stuff from Cornwall. And a great big amount of beautiful clotted cream all the way from Cornwall. Look at that, eh? So in that goes. And then some salt, good sprinkling of salt, bearing in mind that the haddock is already salted, so you don't need to go sort of mad with that, and some pepper. And then just stir that around, and that's the filling. And the cream really makes it nice and sort of rich and moist. It really does work well. So I've actually bought in some puff pastry to make this pastry with. Very naughty of me, I should have made it myself, but you can get excellent puff pastry now. So that's ready to go into the pasty, and over here I've got the puff pastry discs. Just do one, get a bit of flour on the worktop there. There we go. Put that out of the way. Just get some of the filling in there. And one of the sort of things to know about pasties, if you're not very good at sort of sealing them up, don't put too much filling in first time round, because they'll only burst open in the baking. So there we go with the filling. And now we just join the two sides together, just pinch them together before you start the crimp. There we go. Then you just work from one end, just turning the thing over your thumb to sort of build up a quite reasonable join. Having just given it a bit of egg wash, pop that in the oven about 200 degrees centigrade for about 35 minutes. And when you bring